Escadaria Selaron, the famous tiled steps in Brazil. I was planning to come here earlier so it wouldn't be as busy, but I didn't wake up till around 9:30. So I'm gonna have to make my way through the crowds. I'm at the bottom of the steps now on Rua Manuel Caniero, and these steps were designed by Cathedral Selaron. Almost everybody wants to take a picture down here. There's some red sort of tiles on the right and left hand side of the main walk. I'm going to head a bit higher where it's hopefully a bit quieter, and you can see the crowds there behind me. Here there are over 2,000 tiles on this tiled street, and the tiles have been collected from over 60 countries worldwide. The total length of the staircase street is 125 meters, and there are 215 steps. I nearly tripped over the 112 or something like that. It's definitely quieter at the top. Apparently when they were first being made by Selaron, the locals would mock him for the colours he used because they were the simple colours of the Brazilian flag. As time has gone on, he's improved it and improved it and improved it. And he says it's a never-ending piece of art until his dying day. Now I'm in a bit of a rush to leave the steps because I'm hoping to visit the cathedral for the 12 o'clock mass, and it's currently about 11:52. And you can see as soon as you leave the steps, it's dead as a dodo here. So to walk to the cathedral from the Escadaria Selaron, if I'm going the right way, I hope I am, should take around 10 minutes. You can see some of the local street art graffiti behind me as well, which is hard to miss in this area. And also on the way, I was hoping to see an aqueduct, which I can now see as I turn this corner. The Arcos de Lapa, and this was built in the mid-18th century to bring fresh water to the residents here. And from this angle, as I turn the corner, you can see the true expansive length of it. And I believe it stretches onto the square where the cathedral is situated. Beautiful sunny day here today in Rio de Janeiro. And in terms of safety, some people said to be concerned about that Escadaria Selaron, but I walked through there. I haven't checked my pockets yet, but it seemed alright to me. And just behind, you can see the tip of the interestingly shaped cathedral. It's almost in the shape of a pyramid with the top 10th percentile sliced off. Almost like a cone shape with the top sliced off, I suppose. I think I've just about made it in time for mass time. I can hear the bells going off in the distance of a church. Some skyscrapers behind me as well. It's about 34 degrees today, so I'd be grateful to get in the shadow here. The mass has just begun, the bells have chimed. This cathedral, it's quite incredible really. I'm not sure if my camera can capture the height of it, but these stained glass windows, there's 4 of those. They're sort of rectilinear and they're 64 meters in height, basically going from the ground to the ceiling of this cathedral. You may just about to be able to hear the mass, which is currently ongoing somewhere behind these walls. I'm not sure how to get in. can have a walk around. Okay, so if you're looking for the mass, you come in the main entrance of the cathedral, and then you go to the far right side to enter.
Recebemos o vosso Espírito, a fim de que se tornem para nós o corpo e o sangue de nosso Senhor Jesus Cristo. Isto em memória de mim. Mistério da fé. Da morte e ressurreição do vosso Filho.
So I'm now leaving the cathedral, and it was Edgar Oliveira de Fonseca who was the designer of this cathedral, and you can see what I mean by the cone-shaped cut-off at the top. The design itself is based off of the idea of Mayan pyramids. Now it's a shame I'm not wearing my Mayan t-shirt today, because it somewhat looks similar to what's on the front of that t-shirt with the cosmology that's on it. If you want to see what that looks like, it's in the St. Kitts and Nevis video. But yeah, so you can see where the sort of pyramid Mayan idea comes from. And this cathedral was built between 1964 and 1979. Now just out left of the entrance of the cathedral, if you're exiting, is Rua do Lavradio, which is supposedly a famous street with old Brazilian architecture. I'm going to walk down it now and take a look. First thing I can see is this pink building behind me. I believe this is a Masonic building, perhaps a Masonic palace. It is the Masonic palace. Palacio Masonico do Lavradio, 1822. So it's just over 200 years old now, and it seems to have held up quite well. So this is what the street looks like. I wouldn't say the architecture is necessarily jumping out at me as something amazing, especially when I look to my right here and there's a nice tree at the end, but a lot of these buildings look quite dilapidated. So towards the end of the street there is some more nice buildings here. This little street behind me seems to house more traditional architecture. See some of the carvings in the top of that building there. And a nice view of, I believe, Santa Teresa Church at the top of that hill. Okay, here I'm at the Earth Sciences Museum. It's a bit later on in the day, but I've made my way here. I'm not going to go inside, but I wanted to see the building, and it's a very nice building. Very big, and some nice sculptures on the outside as well. And from here, I'm going to be walking to Pao Do Açucar, the Sugarloaf Mountain. Now I'm not planning to mount atop the mountain, I'm just planning to do a trail. Now the trail, unfortunately you can't walk all the way to the top. You have to walk up halfway and then pay for a tram to get to the top, as far as I'm aware. So I'm going to do the free walk, and apparently there's some nice views at the lots of beeping. Apparently there's some nice views at the point where the walking trail finishes. Now for one of my very few YouTube viewers, I know they'll be interested in this. It's a small school, and it's called the Mary Poppins Crest School. And a spoonful of sugar makes... No, I'm not going to sing that song anymore. I'm going to save my singing voice for the Copa. And the cable cars seem to be going up here. I think potentially this is where I'll be walking first. And then they go across to the actual top of the Sugarloaf. I'm not 100% certain. So they go up there and then to the right over there, I think, based on what I'm viewing. So potentially where I'll be walking is up there. And even before I've started walking up, there's quite a lot of nice monuments in this area. Recife and Talo Rio de Janeiro is behind me here. And in the middle there's a nice winged monument sculpture here, which has got nice views in the background as well. I'm going to take a walk through the centre of the square where that monument was, because there's quite a lot of stalls here. See what they're selling. You can see here on either side of the water there's sort of small boutique stalls. come out the back of that main square, it sort of spills onto the beach area, which is extremely busy. Except at this beach area, unlike Copacabana and Ipanema, there are boats situated here. Incredibly busy. Now I believe the trail that I'm going to be taking is somewhere in that direction. I believe it's called Morro da Urco, or Urcu, something like that. I'm going to walk that way and see if I can find it. Attention, there's presence of venomous animals, it says here. So essentially what I'm going to be doing here is just walking up until I get to a point where I have to pay to either walk or transport any further. Then obviously the reason it's called Sugarloaf Mountain is because of the sugar moulds, the clay moulds that sugar used to be transported in, and I believe that was in the 16th century when the Portuguese would obviously transport the sugar on ships, and that was also the same time that they named it the Sugarloaf Mountain. It was formed, supposedly, when granite was forced up through softer rock layers in the area. Lots of boat parties going on. It's like several music videos. Some people fishing here. In quite a precarious position. The serviette is back on as it's just too hot to walk around. There is some shade here, but there's also long periods of sun. For example, where I'm standing at the moment, but this is a really steep cliff behind me here, and there's a massive sign saying risk of death. Now this really is a final destination scene, so I'm going to move on before my head gets taken off by a rock. The beginning of the trail seems to me like where the majority of the elevation probably starts. Okay, so I'm now at the trail start point, and I'll try and put a picture in the video for anyone who's visiting Rio or interested. But essentially I was right with what I said earlier when I was looking at the two peaks of the mountain. I'm roughly in the middle of those two peaks, and sorry, there's a really nice blue butterfly here, and he's flown away. That was quite incredible to see. Massive butterfly with sort of royal blue and black edges. But this is the start of the trail, and it is a 200-meter elevation starting from 20 meters.
It's over, bro.
And it takes you to the Morro da Urca, which is a viewpoint on that first peak. Now once you're there, it says on the sign you can pay for a ticket, which will be around half price, I think, compared to the ticket from the station I showed you earlier. So it may be worth coming up here to save money, even if you are still planning to go to the top of the Sugarloaf. And this walk to the Morro da Urca supposedly takes 40 minutes, and it's a 900-meter distance. Whew. I'm actually slightly out of breath. I'm walking quite fast though. I started at the bottom of the trail at 13:45, so when I get to the top I'm going to see how long it took me compared to the 40 minutes. It should be 14:25. My observation at the start, that most of the elevation would be at the start, was wrong. The elevation goes on for about the first 10 minutes straight, and just now for the first time it's starting to level out. Oh, not for much longer. It's uphill again. Okay, so here seems like quite an incline. I don't know if I'm near the end yet. So I've passed through the barriers, and I believe I'm nearly at the end because I'm now on a concrete road. And I'm now going to enter the time capsule, apparently. Apparently there's 14 55-inch screens in here. So I'll see you either in the future or in the past.
Após a memória de qualquer da 10 com 11 de outubro,
das cariocas falam não só de shows de ônibus, mas de muitas casas diretivas, como quando Timaya, com medo de subir, exigiu que seu cachorro antecipado antecipado e em cuecas. Nomes como Gabi e Miranda concordaram em uma coisa qualquer na vida. Vista de camarote, a cidade fica ainda mais maravilhosa.
So that was quite interesting. It was showing some of the famous people who visited and some of the dates. Saw John Kennedy there, as well as Robert De Niro, who someone I know who will be watching this video will enjoy. And I'm now walking out, and the height that I'm at is quite incredible. I went to the top of the Christ the Redeemer, but this seems even taller, even though I can see the Christ the Redeemer ahead of me, and it's higher. Wow. So I am at the top now, and arrived at 1404, 1403, 1405, something like that. So it actually only takes 20 minutes to walk up. That's, I presume, if you don't stop along the way. I'm not sure if they took that into account. And this is a honey garden. It's very nice up here, I have to admit. I'm glad I came up. And it's got the different species here as well. Did you know native bees make their hives inside tree trunks, unlike exotic bees that do it outside? I'm not sure if you can see on camera, these bees are really small surrounding these hives. These bees are really, really small. These ones are slightly larger in here. You can see here behind me the embarkation point with a really long queue and a nice building as well. And this is the disembarkation point where the cable car arrives to this halfway point. The queue is actually wrapping around the corner of the building all the way over here. This is the only cable car I'll be near getting on today. And here's another official look at Rio. I'm now on the other side of the Morro da Urca, and I believe this is the Botafogo region. And I can see in the distance where I arrived into Rio, the SDU Santos Dumont airport, and you can see how short the runway is, which is kind of what it's known for actually, one of the things anyway. And behind me from this angle you can see the Sugarloaf, probably the best view I've had of it so far, slightly spoiled by the cable cars running up to it. What better place than here to stop and have something to eat? And look at these views behind me. Almost perfect. And today I've got a banana and pão de queijo. Now pão de queijo actually means loaf of cheese, and Pao Do Açucar means loaf of sugar. Now it's called a loaf of sugar for the mountain because of the shape of it. And so I'm basically having a loaf of cheese right next to a loaf of sugar. Right there. How interesting. ... I also have 2 boiled eggs, actually, which, again, may be overboiled in this 34-degree heat. I've also noticed that, nothing to do with the egg, my previous visit to the Cathedral is in this direction as well. I'm just going to see if I can show you where I've come from. In this roughly top middle of your shot now, there's 2 black buildings, and in the middle of those 2 black buildings there's a cone shape. That's the cathedral that I was visiting earlier. Okay, so now I'm going to leave the Morro da Urca and head down to the Copacabana. I think it will probably take...
Would you like to take a picture with the sugar loaf as a background?
I've already got one, if you heard that. It's going to take around 1 hour to get to the start of the Copacabana, and then to walk the whole length of it again probably takes around half an hour. I'm going to walk to Ipanema beach as well today, and then I'll call it a day. This tree behind me is being hugged because it's the wish tree. Imagine you're here and make a wish. Árbol de los deseos. I've just made a wish, you don't know what it is. I'm walking down the path now, and walking down gives me more concern than walking up, as it was quite steep walking up, and I never enjoy walking downhill. So just a few minutes later, the cartilage in my knee has pretty much deteriorated from this downhill, so I'm going to put my camera away before I fall over and break it. The next time I see you might be at the Copa. Get a little sense of the steepness here. I'm now walking through one of the tunnels in Rio that is most known for its robberies and thefts. It's about 100 meters long, and I'm about halfway through, and so far I haven't been threatened. I'm alone at the moment. I think one of the reasons there's quite a lot of robberies here is because there's no CCTV cameras in here at all, and there's no police presence inside either. Her name was Lola, she was a showgirl, with yellow feathers in her hair and her dress cut down to there. She went merengue and all the cha-cha, and while she tried to be a star, Tony always tended bar across the crowded floor. They worked from 8 till 4. They were young and at each other. Who could ask for more at the Copacabana, the hottest spot north of Havana? At the Copacabana, music and passion were always the fashion at the Copa. They fell in love. So I am now on Copacabana Beach, and it is sweltering here, and there's a nice plane in the sky. Let's see what it has to say. It's an advert for ice creams. So a bit of free advertisement for that company to my, 50 subscribers and 20 viewers, brilliant. So let's see what the seafront looks like here. The sand is beautiful golden white. I was expecting it to be busier than it actually is here. There's a lot of space, especially at the entrance where the sort of sport area is. Now walking the famous Avenue Atlantica. The sun is beaming into my face, so I can't even see what I'm looking at. And interestingly, during the 19th century, this Copacabana area, the beachfront, used to just be a small sort of fishing village with sand and dunes. The Tunnel Velo connected Botafogo to the beachfront, and thereafter this Avenue Atlantica was made, that the place basically began to grow into the place that it is now. And you can see the famous patterned promenade sidewalk with the Copacabana behind me here. Right. Oh, well, I'm not going to get that one. The song of Copacabana that I gave you a stunning rendition of earlier by Barry Manilow. I only sang the first half. If you were to listen, well, even that, the first sort of quarter, if you were to listen to the whole song, it's actually quite a sad song. And Lola, the girl I mentioned at the start, at the end of the song, I think ends up drinking herself half blind, mourning the loss of Tony, who was killed by Rico, I think. And Rico comes into the song later. So it's actually not the most upbeat, positive song as it sounds at the start. And I believe at the end, rather than saying fall in love at the Copacabana, they say at the Copacabana, don't fall in love. And here behind me apparently is section number 3 of the Copacabana. And it says foot volley, so I'm going to see if they're any good here. It was a decent first touch, to be fair, from the woman receiving. So they make a little mound here to serve from. Nice. Oh, that was exciting. I can't come to Brazil without watching some Brazilian beach volleyball. That's poor communication from the receiving team. In or out? One thing I didn't have on my bucket list for today was Ben Brereton Diaz being on the back of someone's shirt, and it's on the back of the shirt of the man coming up behind me now. But there's a little stool. I think it's a Chilean stool, so maybe that's why. But I'm not sure out of all the Chilean players why you would pick Diaz, even though I would. Free kick here to the green team. Oh, deflection. Good wall. Corner kick. I like they've got a little corner flag here as well. It's been taken from the other side. I've crossed over from the main beach side, which is over there, onto a sort of island in the middle of a dual carriageway. So there's some nice small market stalls here, selling more than there is on the promenade walk. And it seems to be frequented by a few more locals than on the promenade walk. The majority is sort of souvenir type items, and also there's more shadow here. And it's only once you bend left around the south side of the Copacabana that the Sugarloaf Mountain comes back into view. At the start, that's not viewable. If you're buying just a small bottle of water on the Copacabana strip, it will cost you around 5 reais just for a small bottle, which is around 80p-ish. If you were to buy probably quadruple the size, if not more, it would cost you around half the price in a supermarket. Also on the strip, the prices for alcoholic drinks and coconut water isn't too bad. It's around 10 reais for both, and that's around £1.50. So not actually too bad. So I have now walked the full length of the Copacabana. This is the south side here behind me. And now I'm going to be taking a left turn around onto Ipanema Beach. The total length of Copacabana probably took me around 45 minutes to walk. I said I was going to take a left turn, but you have to pay to get in. So I'm going to go right and around. I'm now on Ipanema Beach, which on the face of it seems a lot busier, but the beach is much shorter, which probably explains why it looks more busy. Now this beach only rose to fame in the 1960s-ish, and again it used to be a fishing village beforehand. And now it is really crowded. I mean, take a look at this. I think that's going to end today's vlog in Rio de Janeiro, here at Ipanema Beach, as I'm back at my accommodation now. Beautiful views behind me, and muito obrigado. I may come back for the sunset. I've arrived back at Ipanema Beach. Unfortunately, the cloud cover has just obscured the sun before it headed behind this mountain, like the other day in Rio where the clouds seem to come out at sunset time. So that's pretty much it from today in Ipanema, and I'm going to finish it off with another song like I did in the Copacabana. Tall and tan and young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking, and When she passes each one, she passes goes. Ah.